Amano Keita is an ordinary high school boy whose quiet life revolves entirely around video games, until a chance encounter pulls him into the center of unexpected relationships. Misunderstandings pile up as friendships, rivalries, and romantic tensions spiral wildly, all driven by his sincere but awkward love for gaming. What begins as a simple invitation to join a game club turns into a chaotic and hilarious story where every choice feels like a high-stakes game he never meant to play. The story began one day when Keita was buying several games at a game store. While he was focused on choosing which games to purchase, a beautiful girl named Karayan suddenly approached him and greeted him. Keita froze in place the moment he saw her. Since it was their first time talking, Karayan quickly introduced herself. Karayan was a student from Class 2A at Otobuki High School. Karayan was known as one of the most admired girls at her school. She was smart, attractive, and talented in sports, making someone like her extremely rare. Even though she was not a celebrity, students at Otobuki High School often regarded her as a fallen angel or the school's idol. In contrast, Keita's situation was completely different from hers. He was shocked that Karayan had spoken to him at the game store and quickly introduced himself as well. He was from Class 2F and attended the same high school as Karayan. Keita felt that he must have looked awkward and embarrassing, and he never expected Karayan to be so friendly toward him. When he became startled earlier, some of his items had fallen, and Karayan kindly helped him pick them up. Keita could not understand why something like this was happening to him. He grew extremely nervous when Karayan asked whether he really liked games. His nervousness overwhelmed him, causing him to answer without thinking clearly. Karayan picked up one of the games Keita had chosen earlier. The game was titled Golden Memories, an adventure simulation featuring a lighthearted fantasy setting. Keita explained that he enjoyed games in general. Even though he spoke nervously, Karayan did not mind at all. At that moment, Keita had no idea how to behave and felt as though he wanted to disappear on the spot. Keita explained that he liked games because they offered interesting content, and sometimes his curiosity led him to check the information on the back cover. Karayan understood and agreed that the back cover was indeed appealing. Hearing that, Keita became increasingly enthusiastic and started talking more passionately about games. After a while, Keita worried that his behavior might have made Karayan uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, Karayan laughed after seeing how excited he looked while talking about games. To her, Keita seemed genuine and ideal in his own way, which led her to ask him to join the game club. Meanwhile, Thasuku was spending time at a game center when Agori asked him for help. Agori wanted Thasuku to play a claw machine game to get a large cat plushie, and she pleaded earnestly. Thasuku asked her for money to play, but Agori reacted with playful frustration. Thasuku then tried the claw machine himself and carefully controlled the claw. At first, Agori thought he had missed the target, but it turned out that Thasuku was aiming for the hook attached to the plushie. Thanks to that strategy, Agori successfully got the plushie and was overjoyed. Agori admitted that Thasuku was truly skilled at playing games. Although Thasuku acted indifferent, he was secretly very pleased and felt proud of himself. Since Agori was his girlfriend, her cheerful and innocent personality made him feel grateful to be with her. That evening, Agori and Thasuku walked home together. Thasuku asked why Agori seemed so happy, and she explained that she was thrilled to have received the plushie from him and promised to take good care of it. Not long after, Thasuku noticed Keita standing alone near a park. He thought that someone like Keita would never be able to be with someone as charming as Agori and dismissed him as socially awkward. In reality, Keita was with Karayan at that time. Karayan told him that she was in the process of forming a game club, but had not yet recruited members. She commented on how polite Keita always sounded when speaking to her. Karayan explained that her friends and teachers always spoke politely to her, and even characters in games tended to do the same. She also shared that she had stayed up for 3 days trying to break a world record for fast completion in a game. Keita did not immediately believe her and assumed she must have been exaggerating or dreaming. It was only then that Keita realized Karayan genuinely loved games. She had never talked about this interest with her friends before. The real reason she enrolled at Otobuki High School was because she had heard rumors about a famous game club. Unfortunately, the club disbanded before they entered the school. Because of that, Karayan had been secretly working the previous year to revive it, and she was confident that she would succeed this year. Keita congratulated Karayan and asked what the game club was truly about. Karayan explained that the club was not just about playing games casually, but treating them seriously as an official club activity. That was why she was searching for true gamers, and that was how she found Keita. Karayan asked Keita to visit the game club next time. She then said goodbye, explaining that she needed to head home. Before leaving, Karayan suggested that they meet again after school the following day. While at home, Keita still could not stop thinking about the game club. He never expected something so big to happen in his life. and he even wondered if everything that had happened was nothing more than a dream. Not long after that, his phone received a notification. Keita immediately checked it, only to find that it was just a request for help in an online game. At the same time, a girl somewhere was playing a game while smiling softly. The next day after school hours ended, Keita remained sitting quietly at his desk. Once again, he received a help request notification from Mono. Suddenly, Karan appeared and startled him. Karan apologized for being late to meet him. Keita did not mind at all, since he was simply passing the time. Karan was surprised to learn that Keita also played browser-based games. Her position was very close to him, which made Keita nervous, especially because their classmates were watching them. Keita then suggested that they head to the game club room right away. Keita followed Karan shortly after, feeling a bit guilty toward Mono for declining her in-game help request. At that moment, Thesuke could not believe that Keita had become so close to Karan. Karan brought Keita to meet another member named Ichi. She introduced them to each other and casually mentioned that Ichi really loved playing puzzle games at the arcade. Ichi became embarrassed when Karan shared that detail. Keita was shocked to see how close Karan and Ichi were, since he had previously thought that he was someone special to Karan. Ichi admitted that he did not have many friends, which was why he truly wanted to be friends with Keita. Keita accepted Ichi's handshake warmly. Keita was also surprised that the school had officially approved the game club. Karan explained that their club activities were more structured and meaningful than people might expect. When they arrived at the game club room, Thesuke and Ichi were amazed by how many games were inside. Unexpectedly, there were already other students in the room. Karan referred to them as strict seniors and then introduced one of them, Gakudo. Keita and Ichi greeted him politely. There was also another senior named Nina, who stayed silent because she did not like being disturbed while playing games. Karan explained that Gakudo was known as a top-tier FPS player on a global level. Ichi looked unfamiliar with FPS games, so Keita asked whether it was his first time seeing one. Ichi admitted that he only really understood puzzle games. Keita explained that all the equipment in the club room had been purchased using prize money from game competitions. That was what Karan meant by their club activities being well-defined, since they earned recognition through gaming tournaments. Karan then invited Ichi and Keita to play together. Gakudo even suggested a friendly test of skill. They began playing an FPS game together, and Keita was surprised that they ended up playing several rounds. Even so, the highest score still belonged to Gakudo. Keita became exhausted after playing for more than 2 hours. Karan commented that at least Gakudo was holding back a little, because otherwise the new members might have felt overwhelmed. Keita acknowledged Gakudo's unmatched skill, especially considering how challenging the AI opponents were. Gakudo casually remarked that his opponents were still at a basic level. Gakudo was genuinely surprised that Ichi, who was playing an FPS game for the first time, performed so well. Despite being a beginner, Ichi managed to defeat Gakudo 3 times. Ichi explained that he was simply copying the movements he observed. Keita praised Ichi's ability and even suspected that Ichi had played FPS games before, but Ichi denied it, explaining that it truly was his first time and that he found it surprisingly fun. Karan also praised Ichi, and even Gakudo admitted that Ichi showed real potential. According to him, the ability to observe and learn techniques from other players was a fundamental skill for becoming good at FPS games. Meanwhile, Gakudo pointed out that Keita's habit of jumping around on top of vehicles made him an easy target, which affected the team's performance. Keita looked discouraged after hearing that. Karan felt awkward and explained that Gakudo tended to get overly intense when playing FPS games. She apologized on his behalf and suggested that everyone take a break. Karan, Ichi, and Keita rested for a while to recover their energy. Keita was amazed that Nina and Gakudo were still playing enthusiastically despite having played for so long. Karan explained that both Gakudo and Nina truly loved games, sometimes even prioritizing them over daily meals. She then asked Keita and Ichi if they had any special reasons for wanting to become gamers. Karan shared that Gakudo had been trained strictly by his father, who was a soldier, which explained his exceptional FPS skills. Meanwhile, Nina wanted to use her strength to help save a friend who had fallen into a dark place. Keita said that he simply liked games, nothing more than that. The atmosphere became a bit awkward, but Karan reassured him that his reason was perfectly valid. Karan then asked Ichi about his motivation. Ichi admitted that he did not have a specific reason. Keita initially felt relieved hearing that, but then Ichi revealed that he had lost all of his memories, which was why puzzle games were the only thing he excelled at. Keita was so shocked by the revelation that he accidentally spat out his drink. Karan asked whether Ichi and Keita already understood the Gamers Club in general. She explained that most of the seniors were basically game fanatics, so she asked Ichi and Keita not to take any harsh or careless remarks from the seniors too personally. Karayan also said that they did not need to be extremely skilled at games, because the true purpose of the Gamers Club was to help everyone grow into better gamers. That was why she wanted all of them to work hard together to reach that goal. Heichi felt genuinely entertained by the activities that day, and he became interested in joining the Gamers Club. Karayan then turned her attention to Keita and asked how he felt about it, wondering whether he was interested in joining as well. Keita hesitated and began thinking about whether he should sign up. At that moment, Yakuto and Nina approached him and showed their willingness to help him improve his gaming skills. For Keita, this was the first time he had made friends during his high school life. Even though the seniors were difficult to talk to at first, they were actually kind people, especially Karayan, whose warm smile left a strong impression on him. Keita felt that his school life was becoming ideal, surrounded by the games he loved. Unexpectedly, Keita ended up saying that he was not interested in registering for the Gamers Club after all, because there were no games in the club that he truly wanted to play. Everyone was shocked by his answer. The next day, Keita could not stop thinking about what had happened. He could not understand why he had rejected the invitation to join the Gamers Club, even though it had been something he once dreamed about. He felt foolish for turning it down. Not long after, his phone vibrated with another game notification from Mono. Just as Keita was about to start playing, Karayan suddenly appeared standing right in front of him with a gentle smile. Keita was startled by her unexpected presence. Karayan was surprised to see that Keita was still playing games on his phone. She expressed that she still wanted him to join the Gamers Club and strongly hoped he would reconsider. She even went as far as earnestly asking him again and admitting that she had personal feelings toward him. Keita was taken aback by this, especially since many of their classmates were watching. Karayan then reached out her hand toward him. Keita accepted the gesture, and as time continued to pass, the game invitation from Mono was about to expire. Fortunately, Keita managed to move his hand and accept Mono's game request in time. Keita felt relieved that he was still able to play the game invitation from Mono, but he soon realized that he had unintentionally ignored Karayan. Karayan looked extremely embarrassed, and Keita immediately apologized to her for his rude behavior. While continuing to play on his phone, Keita apologized again and explained that he could not join the Gamers Club. Karayan wondered if Keita was worried about not being skilled enough and assured him that Gakuto would be willing to teach him. However, that was not the issue. Keita admitted that he played games purely for enjoyment and not for competition. He apologized once more and explained that while the Gamers Club was truly amazing, he wanted to enjoy games in his own way. Karayan felt deeply saddened, as the situation felt like a personal rejection to her. Keita thanked her sincerely for inviting him the day before. Karayan found it strange that someone like Keita, whom she had just met, could make her cry simply because of his refusal. Keita encouraged her to keep supporting the Gamers Club. Overcome with emotion, Karayan began to cry and walked out of the classroom. Unfortunately, she slipped on a banana peel and fell, causing all the students to look at her, which made her feel even more embarrassed. Karayan quickly ran away from the scene. Keita wondered if he had made her upset. Not long after, Mono sent him a message to thank him. That day, Keita's classmates noticed Karayan crying after talking with him. They became curious about what kind of relationship conflict had happened between Keita and Karayan. Some of them had overheard a conversation about a gamer club that Karayan and Keita had been discussing earlier, which made them even more curious. They wanted to ask Keita about it, but Thasuku thought it would be pointless since someone like Keita did not seem easy to talk to. Thasuku himself started wondering what kind of person Keita really was. Mika felt that Keita came across as irritating, while Masaya believed that someone like Keita was not worth much appreciation, even though his attitude still felt annoying. Thasuku commented that Keita seemed to live without any clear direction. Their classmates briefly thought that Thasuku was getting emotionally worked up while talking about Keita. While the lesson was going on, Thasuku could not stop thinking about Keita. He occasionally glanced over, quietly observing him from his seat. During lunch break, Agori approached Thasuku with a bright, cheerful expression. She sat very close to him, acting as if she was recharging her energy just by being near him. Mika asked whether Agori really liked Thasuku that much. Agori laughed and openly admitted it. She had brought a homemade lunch for him, shaped like an adorable kitten, although it had ended up looking rather messy. Agori mentioned that Keita was becoming a hot topic in Class C because he had turned down Karayan. Thasuku was not particularly interested and felt that it was nothing unusual. He recalled the moment when Agori confessed her feelings to him and how he had no reason to reject her. Agori genuinely loved Thasuku, and she believed she would be happy as long as they stayed together. After school, Agori and the others went to the game center. Thasuku chose to split up from them because the room felt too crowded. He decided to try a crane game instead. While operating the machine, he suddenly caught a glimpse of his reflection that reminded him of his past. The memory disrupted his focus and brought back thoughts of his gloomy middle school days when he had been isolated by his classmates. After a while, he managed to win a game cassette. Unexpectedly, Keita had been watching him the entire time. Feeling shy, Keita introduced himself. Thasuku admitted that he already knew Keita's name and asked what he was doing there. Keita, still embarrassed, asked whether Thasuku liked video games. Thasuku explained that he had picked the prize without really looking at it. The game he won was Paradigm of Pantasia, a very famous title that he had never tried before. Keita considered the game a masterpiece and strongly felt that Thasuku should play it. Keita became extremely enthusiastic while explaining the game in detail and highly recommended it. Thasuku responded that he did not need recommendations from Keita. Realizing he had gotten carried away, Keita apologized and then excused himself before heading upstairs. The upper floor of the game center was dedicated to video games. Thasuku grew curious about Keita's purpose for going there. Keita appeared to be avoiding the crowd. Thasuku guessed that Keita liked video games but did not enjoy noisy arcade machines. Just as Keita was about to leave, Thasuku stopped him and asked him to stay for a moment. Keita, clearly nervous, awkwardly clarified a misunderstanding about Thasuku's intentions. Thasuku simply wanted to invite Keita to play a game together. Keita had always wanted to try one of the video games there, but in the past, he had only watched the demo videos. Thasuku wondered just how insecure Keita really was. Even then, he still found it hard to believe that Keita had rejected Karain. Thasuku asked about Keita's relationship with Karain. Keita smiled, realizing that Thasuku had seen what happened that morning, and then explained the situation to him. Meanwhile, Aguri was spending time with her friends while waiting for Thasuku to come find her. Not long after, she noticed Karain standing near the crane game area. After hearing Keita's explanation about Karain and the Gamer Club, Thasuku admitted that this was the first time he had heard about such a club. He became curious about what made the games played in the Gamer Club different from the ones Keita usually played. Keita found it difficult to put that feeling into words. Thasuku sensed that Keita simply wanted a friend he could talk to about games, and Keita quietly acknowledged that this was true. Thasuku felt that Keita still seemed emotionally unsteady. Before long, Keita suggested that they start playing. Thasuku asked whether Keita wanted to watch the demo video first, but Keita preferred to jump right in. Thasuku confidently believed that he could impress Keita with his skills. They quickly chose their characters, and Keita picked the protagonist. Keita wondered whether Thasuku had ever played the game before. Thasuku admitted that he usually chose characters based purely on how cool they looked. Once the game started, Thasuku pointed out that Keita played much better than Aguri since Aguri tended to press buttons at random. According to Thasuku, players like Keita were actually easier to predict. In the first round, Keita was defeated very easily by Thasuku. Keita felt impressed and acknowledged how skilled Thasuku was. Thasuku, however, thought that Keita's ability was still fairly low. They moved on to the next round, and Keita felt confident that he would be able to win this time. Thasuku found it strange that even though they were just playing a fighting game, Keita looked genuinely happy. Unfortunately, Keita lost again. Thasuku felt that Keita's skill level was unusually low, especially considering that even grade school kids these days tended to play better. After finishing the game, they walked out together. Keita felt genuinely happy that he had been able to play with Thasuku. Thasuku then asked what Keita wanted to play next, mentioning that it was not very fun if only one person kept winning. Keita became extremely excited and eagerly suggested playing more games. They ended up playing several different types of games, including shooting games, driving games, music games, and many others. After they were satisfied, they bought cold drinks from a vending machine. Keita was still full of excitement and asked what game they would play next. Thasuku wondered whether Keita was planning to try every game that could not be played alone. Keita felt embarrassed and avoided admitting it. Still full of energy, Keita rushed back toward the arcade machines. Thasuku smiled at Keita's behavior, feeling that it reminded him of his own past. While walking, Thasuku suddenly noticed Karain sneaking around nearby. He felt confused about what she was doing. As soon as Karain noticed him, she quickly ran away. Thasuku tried to call out to Keita, but at that moment the others arrived. Keita thanked Thasuku and hurried off. Aguri and the others approached Thasuku shortly afterward. Meanwhile, Keita ran off and Karain chased after him, still determined to invite Keita to join her gaming club. Later, Aguri asked where Thasuku had been since she had tried contacting him several times. Thasuku apologized and explained that he had only just checked his phone. Suddenly, Thasuku excused himself, saying that he needed to take care of something. He rushed out, leaving Aguri confused about what he was really doing. Thasuku exited the game center and began running as he searched for Keita, without fully understanding why he felt compelled to do so. He kept running while scanning his surroundings. When he reached a pedestrian bridge, he spotted Keita and immediately called out to him. Keita wondered why Thesuku had followed him. Thesuku questioned why Keita had run away, but Keita explained that he had not meant to run away at all. Keita admitted that he simply felt uncomfortable being around Thesuku, especially since Thesuku was seen as someone popular. Thesuku became irritated by that explanation. He strongly expressed that being labeled as popular was an unfair assumption. He emphasized that if he appeared confident now, it was the result of serious effort. He explained that when he entered high school, he had worked hard to stop being seen as a socially awkward kid, and he did not appreciate being dismissed so casually. Thesuku believed that Keita saw gaming time as the most meaningful thing in his life and thought that simply enjoying games made someone look cool. Thesuku personally felt that taking games too seriously seemed strange, and he also viewed Karayan's Gamers Club as foolish. He pushed Keita to respond to his comments. Unexpectedly, Keita reacted strongly and demanded that Thesuku take back those remarks. Keita admitted that he often felt useless and that gaming was the only thing he truly enjoyed. He apologized and acknowledged that many of Thesuku's criticisms were true. Even so, Keita felt that Thesuku had no right to insult someone he had only just met. The situation became tense, and Thesuku felt uneasy as Keita continued to confront him emotionally. Keita could not accept Thesuku speaking badly about Karayan. In Keita's eyes, Karayan was a kind person who had the courage to take action, especially since she had invited him to join the Gamers Club more than once. Because of that, Keita strongly wanted Thesuku to take back his negative comments about both Karayan and the Gamers Club. Thesuku was completely shaken and asked Keita to calm down first. Keita finally realized what he had just done to Thesuku, so he immediately let go and apologized to him. Thesuku then realized that he had been foolish to compare Keita to his former self. Feeling guilty, Thesuku also apologized to Keita. He never expected that the person who had turned down Karayan's invitation would be so passionate about protecting the Gamers Club. Keita looked visibly awkward, clearly embarrassed. Thesuku smiled and said that he was heading back to the game center, then asked what Keita planned to do next. Keita decided to go home because there was a game he wanted to play. They said their goodbyes, but before leaving, Keita apologized for calling Thesuku a popular kid. Thesuku said that Keita did not need to apologize for that. He realized that his past self was nothing compared to who Keita was at that moment. After coming down from the pedestrian bridge, Thesuku ran into Karayan. She looked extremely happy and completely captivated by Keita. It turned out that Karayan had seen everything that happened earlier. Only then did she notice that Thesuku was standing right in front of her. Thesuku said that he understood and wished her happiness. Karayan quickly grabbed Thesuku and asked what he meant by what he had just said. Thesuku replied that Karayan and Keita seemed to be a perfect match. Hearing that, Karayan's face turned red. Thesuku truly never expected that the most beautiful girl in the school could fall in love so easily. He decided that he would fully support them and even thought it might be fun to tease Keita about it someday. When Thesuku arrived at the game center, Aguri had already been waiting for him for quite a while. She asked Thesuku to play the crane game and win a plush toy for her. Thesuku said that he had already spent a lot of money on games. Aguri suspected that he had used his money to get a plush toy for someone else. Thesuku explained that he had only been playing with other guys. Aguri got upset that Thesuku had not played games with her and complained that he was being insensitive. Seeing Aguri sulking like that, Thesuku decided to give in and do what she wanted. Thesuku and Aguri had been dating for half a year, but in reality, all they ever did was hang out together after school. Thesuku even started to wonder why he had ended up dating Aguri in the first place. He asked which part of him Aguri liked so much that it made her confess her feelings. Thesuku assumed that Aguri would say she liked his face or something like that. As expected, Aguri said that she liked Thesuku because he was cool. She also talked about how Thesuku had gotten a plush toy for her back when they were in middle school. Aguri had liked Thesuku since middle school, and they often played at that same game center back then. Thesuku was shocked to learn that Aguri had liked him since his dark days in middle school. He finally remembered that he used to come to the game center just to keep himself busy, then won a plush toy from the crane game and gave it to a girl who was there. That girl turned out to be Aguri. When Aguri found out that Thesuku was attending the same high school as her, she thought it was her chance to confess her feelings. However, by that time, Thesuku had already changed into a handsome and popular guy. Aguri had also heard that Thesuku liked fashionable girls, so she worked hard to change her appearance. Aguri noticed Thesuku spacing out and moved closer to him. Thesuku's face turned red as he imagined Aguri, the way she used to look back then. Thesuku decided to head home right away. Aguri invited him to walk home together, but Thesuku left her behind instead. He ran as fast as he could, confused about why his heart was racing whenever he was near Aguri. He finally realized that Aguri had been interested in him since middle school, and he could not understand why she suddenly seemed so adorable to him. The next morning in class, Thesuku approached Keita, surprising him. Thesuku said that Keita had been right, and that the game paradigm of Fantasia was really fun. Thesuku even asked Keita to let him know if there were any other good games, and Keita happily promised that he would. When Thesuku returned to his seat, Masaya asked since when Thesuku had become close with Keita. Daiki also asked if Thesuku was in a good mood, because he looked unusually cheerful. Thesuku replied that he had just been really into playing games lately. One morning, while they were at the shoe lockers, Thesuku called out to Keita and complained about a free game from Nobe that he found boring, even though Keita had previously said that the game was fun. Keita asked whether Thesuku had actually played the game and grew curious about Thesuku's opinion. As they walked toward the classroom while chatting, Thesuku explained that at first the game felt like a horror-style exploration filled with mysteries and intriguing prophecies. However, halfway through, he became confused when the game suddenly turned into a fishing game. He felt disappointed because the ending only featured middle-aged men catching black sea bream. Thesuku could not accept how the game ended up that way, especially since Keita had recommended it. Keita simply smiled and maintained that no games were enjoyable. Thesuku then stepped in close and blocked Keita's path, drawing puzzled looks from other students nearby. He went on to criticize Keita's taste, saying it was strange and that the game itself was poorly executed. Later in the classroom, Keita apologized and shared his thoughts that even if a game was flawed, it could still have a certain charm. To him, that feeling was similar to falling in love, which was not always logical. Thesuku found it odd that someone as inexperienced in romance as Keita would talk about love, especially to someone who already had a girlfriend. Those words weighed heavily on Keita, even though he had not meant anything inappropriate. Thesuku then asked about Keita's relationship with Karain and whether Keita had been seeing her often since the recent incident. Keita admitted that he felt sad because he rarely got to meet Karain. Thesuku suggested that not running into each other too often might actually prevent boredom. Keita misunderstood and thought Thesuku was talking about a 3DS game instead. Not long after that, Keita received a game request notification from an account named Mono. He started playing, while Thesuku watched beside him. Thesuku asked why Keita used the name Suki on his gaming account. Keita explained that he preferred not to use his real name online. The name Suki was inspired by his mother's maiden name Tsuchiyama, and sometimes he even used the name Yama. Thesuku thought the reason sounded ordinary and not very exciting. He then asked who Mono was. It turned out that Keita had been friends with Mono since he started playing the game, and because of that, Keita felt close to that person. Keita thought it was fun to be able to talk with someone he had never met in person. Thesuku commented that Keita might need a bit of personal growth before he could truly enjoy a romantic comedy phase in his life. Keita was confused about who Thesuku was referring to, but Thesuku mentioned Karain and felt that if things stayed the same, their relationship would not progress. Keita began to feel that he did not measure up to Karain in any way. Thesuku quickly clarified that he did not mean to make Keita feel down. By personal growth, he meant that he wanted to help Keita move forward from being a loner. Keita was touched when he realized that Thesuku genuinely cared about him. Thesuku put an arm around Keita and encouraged him to try talking with a girl who shared his passion for video games. After school, Thesuku took Keita to his intended target in Class 2A. The girl's name was Chiaki, and she loved playing games just like Keita did. Keita resisted, explaining that he did not want to approach someone under false pretenses, but Thesuku continued to push him. Suddenly, Aguri appeared and reminded Thesuku about their promise to hang out together after school. Before leaving, Thesuku told Keita that he was eagerly looking forward to seeing how things would turn out and urged him to talk to Chiaki. Keita was startled when he noticed people around him looking his way. At the same time, Karain was lost in her feelings for Keita. She became flustered when she overheard Ichi talking with him. Ichi asked whether Keita had come to see Karain, but Keita denied it and said that he was not interested and did not have any business with her. Karain was shocked to hear that, especially when she realized that Keita had come to see another girl instead. The news deeply hurt her. Keita then gathered his courage, entered Class 2A, and approached Chiaki, which made Karain feel utterly humiliated. Keita tried to greet Chiaki, but she was completely focused on her game at the time. Suddenly, Karain arrived and greeted Keita as well. Asking what business he had in Class 2A, Keita admitted that he had come to meet a girl, and Karain nearly lost her balance upon hearing that. She wondered if he might have come for class representative duties or some other reason. Keita then remembered Thesuku's message encouraging him to be honest. Summoning his courage, Keita clearly stated that he had come to Class 2A because he wanted to befriend Chiaki. Upon hearing this, Karayan collapsed, and Keita quickly caught her, causing the surrounding students to gasp in shock. Karayan's face turned red with emotion as she reacted angrily and accused Keita of being insensitive. She then ran off, leaving Keita confused, while Ichi hurried after her. After that, Keita immediately greeted Chiaki. Chiaki looked frightened because she did not recognize Keita at all. Keita seemed unsure about how to start the conversation, but when he noticed the game Chiaki was playing, he asked whether it was Aegis VII, the game that had been released the previous week. From there, they continued talking at the bus stop, and Keita introduced himself to Chiaki. He asked whether Chiaki also liked the game. Both of them felt very awkward since it was their first real conversation. Chiaki assumed that Keita was a member of the Gamers Club, and she apologized because she was not interested in joining the club. Keita explained that he was not part of the Gamers Club either, and that he had also been invited. He then asked whether Chiaki had been invited to join as well. Chiaki shared that Karayan had invited her, and she had come just to take a look at the clubroom. Keita asked whether the club's activities matched Chiaki's expectations. In Keita's view, the Gamers Club felt far too grand for people like them. It turned out that Chiaki agreed with him. She admitted that she enjoyed playing games together with others and competing in a casual way, but she was not interested in becoming the best at any particular game. Keita was genuinely happy to hear that Chiaki felt the same way. He acknowledged that the Gamers Club was indeed a legitimate and serious club. Chiaki felt a bit guilty toward Karayan, but both she and Keita realized how closely their opinions about games aligned. Without noticing it themselves, Keita and Chiaki gradually became more comfortable with each other. After that meeting, they grew closer and began exchanging messages frequently. It seemed that Keita and Chiaki were more alike than Thasuku had initially thought. The more they talked, the more they became aware of how similar their tastes and sensitivities were, especially when it came to games. The games they played, the way they thought about them, and even their playstyles felt like reflections of each other. At school, Keita and Chiaki became very close and were often seen chatting in the hallways. Karayan appeared irritated when she noticed how close they had become. They enthusiastically shared their unique perspectives on games, but it eventually became clear that Keita was more drawn to characters, while Chiaki paid more attention to the music. This difference led to an argument between them. Keita later told Thasuku about the disagreement, explaining that they had fundamentally different philosophies. Thasuku was surprised, as he had thought Chiaki was simply a quiet, game-loving loner. Keita explained that although he and Chiaki had been very close at first, Chiaki was modest and felt more like an equal friend than someone intimidating. Thasuku asked what had caused the argument. Keita felt strongly that games did not need overly cute characters to be enjoyable. Thasuku was surprised that Keita could get so upset over something that seemed trivial, but for Keita, discussions about games were something he took seriously. Thasuku suggested that it would be better for them to talk things out calmly. Thasuku tried to bring Keita and Chiaki together to resolve the minor conflict, but both of them stubbornly held on to their own opinions. Chiaki argued that if the Japanese game industry focused too much on cute characters, while overseas games emphasized storytelling and gameplay mechanics, it was obvious which approach felt stronger to her. In the heat of the moment, Chiaki made a sarcastic remark about Keita's narrow perspective, and Keita responded with an equally childish comment about Chiaki's appearance. Thasuku could not understand why the two of them could not get along despite being so similar. Chiaki softened when Thasuku stepped in to calm them down. Seeing this, Keita questioned why Chiaki admired cool guys but showed no appreciation for cute aesthetics in general. Chiaki denied that interpretation, and Thasuku reminded both of them that criticizing someone's appearance was not appropriate behavior. Thasuku then asked how far their discussion about Aegis VII had gone. As expected, once they started talking about Aegis VII again, both Keita and Chiaki became deeply engaged, enthusiastically exchanging opinions about the game. At first, they agreed on many points, but once their differing interests surfaced again, they fell back into another argument. Thasuku tried to stop them, confused about how the conversation had spiraled once more. Keita commented that both of them were game-loving loners with strong egos, which made it difficult for either of them to compromise when it came to games. Chiaki added that for people like them, there were clear boundaries that should not be crossed in discussions about games. Thasuku realized that the two of them were truly difficult to handle. At that moment, Keita sensed an intense and unsettling presence coming from Aguri. Thasuku decided to end the meeting and apologize for calling Chiaki all the way to his classroom. He admitted that he had enjoyed listening to their passionate discussion about games. Thasuku told Chiaki not to worry about the earlier comment regarding her messy hair, adding that he personally liked girls with slightly untidy hair. Chiaki's face turned red when she heard that. Aguri's presence became even more intimidating, and Keita felt certain that Aguri had misunderstood Thasuku's intentions. Thasuku encouraged Chiaki to become closer friends with Keita since they shared the same hobby. Keita realized that it was understandable for Aguri to misinterpret the situation, as from a distance it looked like Thasuku was getting close to another girl. Thasuku admitted that he liked Aguri's hair, but he also felt that Chiaki suited short hair better. He even mentioned that Chiaki was actually quite cute. Chiaki became flustered upon hearing this. Keita, on the other hand, grew worried that this might lead to a conflict between Thasuku and Aguri if Aguri overheard everything. At that point, Aguri looked as though she was on the verge of losing consciousness after hearing it all. At that moment, Karayan and Ichi were peeking at them from a window. Karayan felt extremely curious about what kind of relationship existed between Chiaki and Keita. Ichi did not know for sure, but it looked like Chiaki and Keita were fairly close. Karayan felt irritated at the thought that they might actually have a close relationship. That night, Thasuku and Aguri walked home together. Thasuku found it strange because Aguri was usually talkative when they walked together, yet she remained quiet the entire time. Suddenly, Aguri asked what Thasuku had been doing in the classroom earlier that day. Thasuku was surprised to realize that Aguri had seen him. He hesitated for a moment before explaining and eventually admitted that he had been trying to mediate between Chiaki and Keita. Aguri appeared visibly upset and asked why Thasuku had been spending so much time with Keita lately. Thasuku explained that he and Keita had only been talking about games. That same night, Keita exchanged messages discussing a game novel. The next day at school, students were buzzing about a beautiful girl who had suddenly appeared on campus. Thasuku wondered whether this girl could really be prettier than Karayan. Before long, Keita arrived and greeted him. Thasuku had a feeling that Keita wanted to say something. Keita seemed worried and asked whether Aguri had said anything to Thasuku while they were walking home. Thasuku said that Aguri had acted normally. Thasuku found it strange that Keita was concerned about Aguri, considering they did not even know each other. Not long after that, a short-haired girl approached them. All the students stared at her, but Thasuku did not recognize her at first. At that moment, Aguri walked over to Thasuku. Keita referred to the short-haired girl with a joking nickname related to dried seaweed. That was when Thasuku finally realized that the girl was Chiaki. Thasuku had previously given Chiaki a few suggestions about her appearance, but he never expected such a dramatic change. Chiaki looked uneasy and wondered whether her new look seemed unpleasant, but Thasuku had always thought that Chiaki was cute from the very beginning. Unexpectedly, Aguri overheard Thasuku praising Chiaki as cute. Keita noticed Aguri walking away and immediately ran after her. Meanwhile, Chiaki told Thasuku that after changing her appearance, even her own family had trouble recognizing her. Thasuku said that the new look suited Chiaki very well, which made Chiaki smile happily. Thasuku then looked around for Keita, and Chiaki informed him that Keita had run off while calling out Aguri's name. Elsewhere, Keita still had not found Aguri when he ran into Karayan. Karayan suddenly apologized for the misunderstanding that had happened the day before. Keita did not understand what Karayan was referring to. He then asked whether Karayan had seen a cute and stylish girl earlier. Karayan explained that the girl was looking gloomy near the school entrance. Karayan asked why Keita was chasing after her. Keita explained that it was related to a complicated relationship issue. Karayan could not understand why Keita had gotten involved in such a situation. Keita finally caught up to Aguri. Aguri believed that Keita was someone who was interfering and taking Thasuku away from her. Keita was confused about why he was being seen that way. He then invited Aguri to have tea together. At the cafe, Keita looked awkward because he did not know what to do next. He explained that Aguri seemed to have misunderstood the relationship between Chiaki and Thasuku. Keita reassured her that Thasuku truly cared about Aguri and even thought she had become even cuter. Aguri's expression instantly brightened, and she quickly went to order another drink. While waiting, Keita checked his phone and noticed a game event. He planned to invite Mono to join as well. Not long after that, Aguri accidentally dropped the drink on her tray when she saw Thasuku walking together with Chiaki across the street. Keita was also shocked when he noticed the same thing.